There is a bell hanging in every cancer center, and it's actually dividing people. The day my last chemo ended, I rang the bell. I walked right up to it, took a deep breath, and I rang the bell. And I need to talk about why. As a cancer survivor of stage 4 colon cancer, I have to admit I was grateful to be done my 12 rounds of chemotherapy. I was grateful to be alive. I was grateful to be moving forward. I was even grateful to have that moment of finality where I rang the bell, that symbol that everybody talks about when you're done chemotherapy. Chemo was done, and I was moving forward. But now that I think about it, I think I thought that I had to ring the bell. I thought it was one of those pieces of the cancer journey that's just expected of a cancer patient, like all the other pieces I checked off along the way. Do the diagnostic testing, do the scans, do the surgery, do the blood work, do the chemotherapy, and ring the bell when you're done. First, we do the chemo, then we ring the bell. Isn't that what you're expected to do? But what are you really supposed to do? That's the bigger question. I have talked to dozens of cancer survivors about what finishing treatment looks like and what they plan to do to celebrate that moment. For a long time, ringing the bell was just another step in the process. But what I'm hearing now is some pushback from people who are finishing treatment and talking about this whole concept of the bell and whether they want to ring it or not. Some of them even have a very strong defiance against ringing the bell. So what is this bell and why does it matter? Ringing a bell after chemotherapy signifies the completion of treatment. It's a tradition that started back in 1996 and is inspired by a Navy tradition of ringing a bell when a task is completed. The gesture provides emotional closure, it's inspiring and hopeful for other patients that hear it, and it's a sense of accomplishment for you, the person who has gone through treatment. So why do people want to ring the bell? Well, it marks a milestone. Chemotherapy is grueling. Finishing deserves to be named and named out loud, not just whispered. It creates community. When patients ring the bell, the entire room stops and applauds. And for one moment, everyone in that space is rooting for the person who is done. That's rare and it's very powerful. It gives the family something to hold on to. Caregivers carry a very huge silent weight as they walk through this with their person. The bell is a physical and an audible moment that they can point to and that allows that caregiver and the family members to take a breath and sigh and relax a little bit. And that bell, it's an act of hope. Ringing that bell is a declaration. I made it through this. Whatever comes next, I did this part, and I am ringing the bell to celebrate that. But there's people who don't want to ring the bell. So why don't they want to ring the bell? And we need to also talk about why that's equally valid. Finished chemo doesn't mean cancer-free. For many people, the end of active treatment doesn't bring with it a guarantee. Surveillance begins. Scanxiety begins. Ringing a victory bell when the outcomes are still unknown can feel kind of false or even a little bit cruel. It can be painful for the other people that are in the room. Some patients who hear that bell when they're earlier in treatment or have been told that their treatment is indefinite or have just received devastating news might really have an emotional response to hearing that bell, because that sound of celebration can feel heartbreaking for the person who's on the other side of it. Some people are really private in their cancer journey, and there's this sort of unwritten, subtle obligation to ring the bell when you're done. But if you've been holding this story close to yourself and not really wanting to share it with a lot of people, making this public announcement at the end of it can be really challenging emotionally and even run contrary to your beliefs about yourself and how you're moving through your cancer story. And for metastatic patients, there is no last chemo necessarily. This ritual was not designed for people with stage 4 in mind. Now, that's not to say that everybody with stage 4 has to do more chemo, but some do. Sometimes the people who are living with cancer long term describe themselves as feeling a little bit erased by a culture that centers on the bell ringing and this done with treatment narrative that they feel like they might not get to. What I've discovered is that while widely celebrated, some institutions are actually reevaluating this tradition of ringing the bell to ensure that it remains inclusive of everybody who's going through the process with chronic or incurable cancers. And instead, they're opting for milestone bells rather than just end of treatment bells. If any of this is resonating with you, if you're somewhere in the middle of treatment and trying to figure out what it means to not just survive, but actually thrive, I want you to know that there's a path for that. I talk about becoming a cancer thriver, not just a survivor. And if this concept is new to you, I'd love for you to find out more. There's a link below. So, what is the bell really about? And what isn't it? The bell was never meant to be a verdict on a person's story. It was meant to be a moment of recognition. The problem is that one ritual can't hold space for every person's experience. And we've tried to let that bell signify something that not everyone is going to achieve. Whether you rang it, skipped it, or stood by clapping for someone else, you are equally part of this story. And there's no right way to mark that day. What matters more than the bell is what comes next. What comes after this? Who are you becoming in this experience? That's the question that changes lives, not whether you rang the bell or not. 10 years ago, I chose to ring the bell. Would I do it again? Well, I think knowing what I know now about the different ways that people experience cancer, my own experience with recurrences, and a deeper understanding of the complexity of cancer, I think I would choose to celebrate end of treatment in a different way, in a way that holds space for those still in the process and in a way that honors my own experience. What is important is that you choose what is right for you. There's no rule book on how to navigate cancer. You are creating your own story and walking your own path in real time every single day. And this needs to be done in a way that honors you right where you are. The bell is just a symbol. You are the person who's experiencing this story. You are walking down your own cancer pathway, and it is going to change, and you are going to grow and learn more about yourself as you move through this process. And that, the becoming who you are going to become, is where I will meet you. If you're ready to stop just getting through it and start building a life as a cancer thriver, a life of love and experience, I work with people living with cancer who do exactly that. Through my Cancer Thriver pathway, you can find support, tools, community, and guidance. The link to learn more is in the description below. I would love to meet you there.